It's useful information. It's a workshop. You all have some papers, documents with useful information. Just use it and hope you enjoy this workshop. Let's meet Andrea and Ricardo with applauses, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the quick introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to see this great audience. Before this workshop, I have checked the attendance list, and I'm really excited we have this great audience. So thank you for coming today to our workshop as well. Thanks a lot. Let's say thank you to Victoria for arranging this, and let's give her some love. My name is Andrei Zinkevich. I am founder of GetLeader, full-funnel B2B marketing agency, as well with Ricardo. We are co-founders of B2B Marketers and Founders Community. I will tell you about the topic of this workshop, how to generate high-quality B2B leads on LinkedIn with inbound marketing. We chose this topic deliberately 1 year ago. I was thinking, to be honest, I was thinking about LinkedIn as a social media where everybody brags about their successes, writes about themselves as a third party, as a third person. Everybody shares their great job roles, but at the same time, I have heard that LinkedIn is, like, let's say, an ocean for B2B generation. So we don't know what's happening to this mind, but okay, it's gonna be some fun. So when I started to, let's say, to explore the LinkedIn, I thought that most people who were talking about lead generation on LinkedIn were talking about manual outreach, sending connection requests and messages to people with like, hey man, how are you doing? We are doing this and that, let's have a call, let's have a 20 minutes call, and I'd like to sell you something. So basically all people who are thinking about B2B lead generation on LinkedIn, they were thinking about exchanging money on your bank account and transfer that money to their bank account. So basically, we changed. I won't say we were the game changers, but we started together 1 year ago from the scratch. We didn't have any connections, so probably my LinkedIn profile was like, I had probably 50 connections, and all they were my colleagues from the previous companies where I have worked. The same situation was with Ricardo, and in 1 year, we become, I won't say the biggest LinkedIn influencers, but we became a well-known B2B marketers. We developed the system, we developed the strategy how to generate leads with inbound marketing when leads reach you out. And we want to share with you today how to combine both inbound and outbound approach, because it's not about passive lead generation when you are waiting when the lead will call you. And at the same time, of course, we won't be telling how to write great messages that will close deals or arrange some meetings for you. We'll tell you how to build really fruitful relationship with your target audience. And we'll start with social selling, but before I'll give a mic to Ricardo, I want to ask you a question. Who read our book, LinkedIn Inbound Marketing? Please raise your hand. Not so many people. And this is really great because you'll have it as a bonus part after the workshop. We'll send it to you. So it would be like a great supplement to this presentation, to this workshop. So let's start with the social selling and how to use it, how to implement it, and unite it with your inbound marketing strategy.
Thank you. All right, I just want to ask a question before we start. Who has a LinkedIn profile? Obviously, all right, awesome. That's a good start. Who has been successfully getting leads from LinkedIn? All right, that's nice.
All our best
There you go. That's what happened. All right. So about a year ago, we started with LinkedIn. And we thought, and like Andre said, like we were going to send out messages. The first thing we discovered was automation tools. We've heard LinkedIn Helper in the room already, where you would send out automated messages to people and say, hey, you want to buy from me? Turns out that didn't really work out. So we tried to move our strategy a little bit to how do we combine outbound, so sending out messages, with inbound, sharing our stories basically. And so yesterday we were actually speaking at the conference. We were saying we were going to speak at the conference, and we wanted to know who was interested in our slides. So yesterday we posted, okay, why do people struggle at getting valuable leads from LinkedIn? And I gave them an answer. If they wanted to have the slides, we would send them after. And about a day ago, we just posted this on LinkedIn. For now, we were hoping to get 1,000 comments, but we almost reached there. I guess people are talking to me. Awesome. Okay. So today we want to walk you through our story, how to go from like 50 connections. I think I had like 37 connections, so I was getting lower than you. How to get from 37 connections to actually building a brand on LinkedIn to get a high stream of valuable leads through your audiences, basically. So I want to get back to you. I think you're going to do the overview. All right.
Yeah, so basically today we'll be speaking about when we actually prepared this presentation, we didn't want to double the content we put into the book. So it would be, like I said, it would be a supplementary workshop. So all the things that we won't mention today in this workshop, because we have a limited time, unfortunately, you'll be able to read it in our book. And our goal is to give you the strategy, the structure, how you can start. So we'll be talking about segmentation, we'll be talking about ideal customer profile, we'll be talking about inbound and outbound approach as well. We'll be talking about how to build your target audience and how to start generating leads from LinkedIn. And like the first part is social selling, because it's just like the first with which you'll start.
All right. Does anybody know what social selling is? Good.
Selling on LinkedIn?
Selling on LinkedIn. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'll give you the overview in a second. Can you give me the next slide? So about a year ago, we started with 37 friends, or like colleagues, I would say. You started with 50, and we started posting articles, which in my belief was really interesting stuff. But unfortunately, I started off with getting 3 likes, and actually it's not really true, because I got 2 likes, because one of them was my girlfriend, which I pushed to say, hey, please like my post. So that was quite embarrassing. So what I wanted to have, so I had this, and a little bit further, and I wanted this. I wanted people to actually consume my content and understand what I was doing. So we started out a year ago to understand how does the platform work, how does the algorithm work, and how do you not make the mistakes that we made, and how do you do this in a processed way. So as Andre said, we're not going to talk about the hacks and the tricks. You can read all of those in the book we will give you, but today we're going to give you the overview of the strategy-wise, how you can break it down and really narrow it down to what do I need to do and where do I need to start, basically. So the question is, why LinkedIn content marketing? Now the reason is very simple. You just have to look at the numbers. So if you look at LinkedIn today, it's actually, there's a lot more now, but we have about 9 billion impressions every single week. That means that 9 billion people, or not 9 billion people, but there is people scrolling through the feed, and that's 9 billion times. So that's pretty like hefty stuff that if you think about that. And there's only 500 million people on the platform. But also, of those 500 people, there's only 3 million people actually sharing content, valuable content. And out of those 3 million people, we all know those people, the recruiters, I call them, where they say, hey, we have a nice job posting, why don't you, call me? Or why don't you, this is my email, please send me something. And that's also part of those 3 million people. So there's actually not a lot of people actually making valuable content on LinkedIn. So that's where it comes to down, like if you look at the numbers, only 1% is actually creating content, and out of those 1%, there aren't actually a lot of people making valuable content, which makes it an opportunity for anybody in the room that is considering starting LinkedIn content marketing. Now, why should you create content marketing? So we discussed this before, and Andre is saying we started out blasting emails or blasting LinkedIn questions and saying, hey, would you buy from me? We do this. Turns out that didn't really work out. And the reason why is just inside that pyramid. If you look at a breakdown, there's a great book, by the way, The Ultimate Sales Machine. I would really recommend reading it. And the book basically says 3% that you will contact today will actually buy from you today. So if you're sending out 100 people, or like 100 requests, maybe 3 people will think like, this is quite interesting. But out of this other people, they're just not ready for you to buy. And that's the perfect opportunity, because if you just connect with people and they will see your face with valuable content every single day, maybe not every single day, but every week, and they know you're trustworthy, you'll move people down the chain. So you increase that 3% to a little bit more once you're chatting with them. So this is the reason why social selling is such a powerful tool to use, because people that you're connecting today won't buy from you today, but they'll maybe buy from you later on. Now, social selling is not for everybody. So I was talking to a founder yesterday, and he was saying, okay, I'm selling a CRM system at 10 euros a month, and I want to start with the social selling. I really believe I really want to do this. The thing is, if you look at his business model, he's only making from one customer 120 euros every single month. And that's the problem already, because if you're actually only getting 120 euros in your pocket from a customer, that's way too low to start with LinkedIn content advertising. Why? It's going to be too expensive for you, because you need to make content. You need to connect with people, you need to put time in it. And all that time, if you look at content marketing, you need to look at where is my business model like in that funnel. And we always advise, if you're not selling something which is more than 500 euros, so for marketing agencies that would be great. If you're selling a CRM system of 10 euros a month, you might want to consider different channels, because it's going to be too expensive for you in the long run. So social selling for me is all about nurturing your prospects by providing valuable answers and thoughtful content until the prospect is ready to buy from you. In short notice, you connect with them, they see your face going around, they see, ooh, this is quite interesting what he's posting about. Maybe in 6 months I'll reach out to him when I have this bigger problem that I was talking about, because you were solving the little problems step by step during these 6 months. So this is what social selling is all about. Instead of you sending out saying buy from me, they'll reach out to you and say, hey, that was interesting. Why can you also solve this problem for me? So I always talk about the 1-9-90 rule, and it's a rule nobody is actually going to tell you. Now, when you start posting on LinkedIn or any channel, there's a big problem that people have when they're posting, and they think, wow, my target audience is actually not liking my stuff. I'm not doing a good job. Now let me take you back to a little story about me studying in a coffee bar. And a guy reaches out and says, hey, we've met. I love your story about the coffee container. I was 21 years old and I sold my first coffee container. I don't know why, that's a long story, but I'll get back to you there later after the coffee. But he says, oh, I love your content. I mean, this is amazing. I'm like, okay, well, thank you. I would actually, I know what you do. I would actually want to get you into a deal that we're closing, because I think you would be a great fit. I'm like, okay, well, that's nice. You're actually selling for me and I'm joining in and I don't have to do anything. That's nice. But the thing was, I went back to my desk and I started scrolling through my feed. I'm like, okay, this guy must have liked 10,000 times my post, or he must have shared something. And I looked at the post, he's like, nothing. I looked through the second post, nothing. Third post, nothing happens. I'm like, how does this guy actually he never liked something, he never shared something, and he's bringing me inside the deal. This is actually what I call the 1990 rule. 1% of the people that are on a platform, on any platform, you can check the stats of Facebook, LinkedIn, any, will actually create content. 9% will be engaging, so commenters, likers, but 90% is what we call lurkers. The people that just scroll through the feeds and they will never do anything. So this is really important psychology. Before you start content marketing, you need to understand that it's okay that people that are not in your target audience are not liking your stuff because they see it. And I can promise you with the coffee container story that they will see it. And now Andre is going to talk about the first steps that you need to do before you start any content marketing activity.
Actually, I'd like to start talking about the fundamentals, about the foundations of any B2B marketing campaign. And it's really important, from my experience, I've been in B2B marketing for 13 years already. I have seen the same mistakes everywhere, which actually makes any B2B marketing strategy, any B2B marketing campaign doomed. This is targeting broad market, and this is like we have a customer profile, and people try to, let's say, create a universal campaign, a universal proposal, universal marketing message. With the help of this message, they want to generate leads from different markets, from different market segments, and this is really gone crazy. And actually, so many companies are wasting lots of money on marketing. Recently, I had a conversation with a prospect who is selling B2B SaaS service with average deal value, which is, if I'm correct, is about 15K per month. So it's just a really expensive B2B SaaS service. And we had a conversation. It was like, who is your target audience? So I'm targeting marketers from the mid-sized companies from the North America. So I asked him, okay, what are your target industries? And he told it doesn't matter. So like marketers from hotels, marketers from restaurants, marketers from SaaS can buy our service. It was like, if I'm called price intelligence service, so they provide you with analytics and give you the price level at which you will have the maximum exposure and the maximum traction and the highest revenue. So basically, I asked him, for example, if a marketer from FMCG company will reach you out and ask about your service, can you help him? And he said, no, of course, so we don't work with FMCG companies. And that's how they try to unite. They try to, when they are talking about their target audience, they are talking that we are looking for marketers from the North America. But when it comes to the details, they say, no, this is not my target audience, this is not my target audience, and this is also not my target audience. And this is one of the biggest mistakes, especially when it comes to LinkedIn inbound marketing. You'll be posting, for example, we are talking today about inbound, about content. You can have only one ideal customer profile. You should really understand their pain points, their challenges, their actually their decision-making process, the typical customer journey, and you should be targeting with your content this exact person. And when you try to create a universal content strategy, for example, you'll try to create a strategy for prospecting, let's say, marketers from SaaS industry and marketers from the hotel industry, you'll never catch any hell like in this Russian famous proverb. Ricardo likes to rephrase it and says like, if you're a hunter and if you try to chase the rabbits, you will never catch any of them. So it's like the same on LinkedIn. If you try to unite different markets who have different challenges, different pain points, different decision-making process, you'll never be able to generate, or let's say, I won't say you won't generate leads, of course you will, but the amount of these leads will be miserable, and unfortunately it will be, the amount of generated leads won't be enough to fill in your sales pipeline. So basically, another mistake when it comes to market segmentation is a customer profile. And I'd like to ask you a question. Who can tell me, please, the difference between customer profile and ideal customer profile? Please raise your hand. You're welcome.
I can say?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sure. Ideal customer is what you want to really target. And what is perfect, I love to work with that. And just, general target market is, yeah, they kind of fit to your needs, but sometimes you hate them. You don't want to work with them at any price. So, but they fit, you can help them.
It's like an example, our target audience is marketers from the North America, when you have the whole market and you try with your universal marketing campaign to shoot at all the market with your universal message and generate all the leads. So the biggest difference is who we focus on, who we focus our marketing message. Ideal customer profile, first of all, I'd like to underline the fact that all customers are different. And not all customers are created equal. It is the biggest mistake when we, like for example, when we count startups and enterprise companies as an equal clients. Unfortunately, it's not true. And one customer can generate you, let's remember the famous Pareto principle, 80-20, so 20% of your customers generate around 80% of your revenue. And the real reason who we want to focus is we should select our best customers, analyze their needs, analyze their challenges, and create the ideal customer profile. And I want to prove you that all customers aren't equal with a simple exercise. I will ask all of you to stand up for a second. It will be a fun one. We won't do dancing, I promise, but it will be really. Okay. Please sit down if you have less than 4 pairs of shoes. Awesome. We have a great audience here. Okay, please sit down if you have less than 8 pairs of shoes. Okay. Please sit down if you have less than 16 pairs of shoes. So, that's really great. Just a quick question. For example, if I sell shoes, who will be my ideal customer? Sure. Thank you so much. This is really a great example. If I want to create a personalized, everybody in marketing, especially in B2B marketing, is talking about personalization. I assume everybody from every corner has heard about personalization. We should try to personalize our campaigns, our message, and so on. But if we want to personalize our campaigns, we need to target exactly this for people if we want to sell them more shoes, because we know they will buy much more, they will generate much more revenue for our company than average client. Segmentation and ideal customer profile creation are always located behind each other, because we create, and it's another really big mistake when we try to create like an average customer profile. And I have seen from many marketers they are doing this mistake. They just took all the data from their CRM. They download all their customers from different market segments, mid-size, enterprise, startups, small companies, and so on, and try to create a universal buyer persona, or customer profile, how they call it. So it looks like like in my previous example, our target audience is marketers from the mid-sized companies. But first of all, we should understand that we create ideal customer profiles separately for every market segment, because every market segment is different. It's different, like they have different needs when they buy your product, when they buy your solution. And first of all, we start with market segmentation, and this is really very, very important when it comes to LinkedIn content marketing, because you should, if you want to have, like, if you want to have the maximum ROI from your LinkedIn campaigns, you should narrow to one market segment. And here's like 10 criteria I used for market segmentation, and you can also use them to find the most fruitful marketing segments. I will just give you a brief description, and you can also read more about this in our book. We'll share with you a link after the workshop. So the first criterion is a competition. So if we have in a specific market segment, if the competition is less than others, we can choose. Or let's say we can say this segment could be more prospective for our company. Amount of prospects. If the specific market segment is growing, it also should be interested for us. And if the amount of the prospects of the companies, of the accounts is declining, so we should be, let's say, we should analyze it and understand that the sales of the specific market segment won't grow. Another criterion is lifetime cycle, because on some specific markets, for example, government, they can buy your product via tenders, for example. And normally enterprise accounts, they can buy from you every month. For example, if you sell something with, if you have a product with a recurring revenue. So this also depends. If you understand that in specific market segment lifetime cycle is higher than in others, you can also prioritize and think about entering this market segment. Segment grows, like I mentioned, if it grows by the amount of companies, if new companies, for example, like in SaaS industry nowadays, it's just marketing technology or fintech. These industries are growing really quickly, and if you are selling something to these companies, you can focus on this specific market segment. Lifetime value is very related to lifetime cycle. Lifetime value is how much money our customer can generate for us. But why did I put it as a separate criterion? Because, for example, if we are selling to small company, they can buy from us every month, but the average deal value will be really low. At the same time, we can sell, for example, to enterprise accounts. Average deal value will be higher, but the amount of transactions will be less. But at the same time, they will generate more money for our company, and we should also understand where the LTV, in which market segment the LTV will be higher. Virality is just the word of mouth, because you know some markets can recommend your company, and some markets prefer work with your company or with your products with non-disclosure agreement. And unfortunately, you can't create simply any case studies. You can show any social proof that you have created, that you already solved some specific challenges that are related to a target audience. So in case if the market is viral, so in this case we're not talking about viral content, they are sharing the content and so on, but we are talking about the word of mouth, if people normally can recommend a company. Experience, it's all about your experience, whether you have experience working with the segment or no. For sure, if we have experience, we can prioritize this market segment. Closeness, it's how difficult is to enter this market segment. For example, if we want to prospect government companies, it would be really, really difficult. At the same time, if we are prospecting small companies, for example, small startups, it would be much more easier to get to the decision makers, and that's how we can also prioritize market segment. Solvency and profitability is actually the answer to the questions whether they have money or no. So, for example, if enterprise companies can generate you a high profit, at the same time startups, they're always seeking for the discounts, for the lowest possible prices, and that's how you can prioritize. I have a segmentation template. Unfortunately, we didn't print it today for you because it's really big. And just for you, how you can use this segmentation template, you just can evaluate every of these criteria. I use normally 3-point scale, and you can evaluate every criteria with 3-point scale. Just put down all the market segments you want to cover, and you'll see the most profitable market segment. And when you understand which market segment is the most profitable for you, you can create an ideal customer profile. So as for, I will keep it here. We also printed for you ideal customer profile survey questions. And this is really very, very important because when it comes to ideal customer profile creation, normally marketers are talking about demographics, location, age, job role, I don't know, experience, marriage status, and so on. But they rarely are talking about the psychographics, and this is, from my point of view in B2B marketing, this is the most important part. So to create the ideal customer profile, you need to talk to your core customers, from a specific market segment. It's not possible just to download the data from CRM and brainstorm who is your ideal customer profile. You need just, like my suggestion, if you never created ideal customer profile, just figure out 10 your best customers by lifetime value, if you track lifetime value, or just check which clients generate the most profit for you, and schedule a call with them and ask them the questions. You have printed these questions in just half of them. So the most important questions is what leads them to buy products, like, what factors influence their decisions? Actually, what are their current challenges? What are the problems your product solves for them? And so on and so on. When you understand all this information, you'll be able, first of all, you'll be able to figure out your unique selling proposition, because we won't cover unique selling propositions in this workshop, but in many cases I have seen that USP, unique selling proposition, USP, is counted or is treated like a slogan, like some creative marketing message, without any unique selling point. So basically, to create unique selling proposition, you should understand what makes your company different and why your core customers really buy from you. So start with this, and when you'll have your ideal customer profile, you'll be able to create, you actually will understand what kind of content you should post on LinkedIn, because we step by step we are going to LinkedIn content creation. And when you answer all these questions you have on this worksheet that Victoria printed for you, you'll be able to create a scalable content plan, because content plan is not about generating some ideas, what should we are posting about. Scalable content plan is answering the existing challenges your target audience have, narrowing down into a specific market segment, and actually solve the challenges your audience have with your content. So basically, when you'll answer all these questions, you'll be able to create, let's say, a big topic clusters. For example, if you are targeting the founders, let's pretend from B2B SaaS companies, it would be like a very quick example. So their challenges could be, their big challenges you can use as a topic clusters. It could be lead generation, it could be retention, it could be customer acquisition cost, it could be analytics, it could be marketing strategy, and so on. When you have these topic clusters, you can always look at these questions, just answer the questions with your post, and that's how you can generate leads for you. And Ricardo also put down the 50-50 rule. So when it comes to content posting, we use a half-to-half proportion. It means that half of your post should be devoted for solving specific challenges. For example, you can post about how to, let's say, how to use LinkedIn posts to boost your content and generate leads, how you can use partnerships to generate leads. Just a quick example. And the second half of your content should be devoted to your personal stories, where you share your experience, your challenges, so your target audience can emotionally speak with you and understand that you are in the same boat, you had the same experience, and you also had these challenges, and you're not posting because you just want to post something about, but you really understand what are the challenges. So I want to give you a very ground preview how, sorry, we have problems with the slides, but okay, so it's just a very, very basic preview of how LinkedIn inbound lead generation works, because I will then give mic to Ricardo, and he will provide the whole structure that we use, that actually we created for our customers. So basically, LinkedIn inbound lead generation works like this. You are posting content, people are visiting your profile, and there are three scenarios. They can visit your website, they can click a link, if you have a link, of course, in your profile to your website. They can simply didn't engage with you, they didn't reach you out, or they didn't start a conversation with you, or they can start a conversation, which is your goal. Like start a conversation and start building a relationship. If they are visiting your website, I assume all of you knows what to do. You can retarget them. You can retarget them on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Google. If they didn't engage, you can start conversation manually. And this is really important part, because when it comes to inbound, people tend to think, marketers tend to think that inbound is all about waiting when somebody will reach you out. It's not like this. If you know they visited your profile but didn't engage, I will give you an idea how you can start conversations with them. So this is a quick example for you can post a content, and like I mentioned, this post was about account-based marketing. And I'm sorry, our slides a bit rearranged, but anyway, so I posted about account-based marketing, and this is an example how people is just the best scenario when they reach you out and they're like, I'm super interested in what you are doing. But basically, most people who, let's say, saw your content for the first time, they won't reach you out. They will, first of all, check your LinkedIn profile, and I will try to. Okay, so when it comes to LinkedIn profile, you should treat it as a normal landing page. As a normal landing page on your website. So first of all, you should have branding, you should have clear positioning, so every person that take a look at your profile should understand what you are doing, what your specific target audience, and whether they can benefit from you or no. And this part, for this part, you can use this, let's say, headline you can use for the positioning, and the profile description you can use to tell people how they can benefit from your product, or if you're selling some specific services, you can tell what they are doing and what makes you different. And normally, like on every landing page, we should have a call to action. So, for example, in this case, if people who already know me, I use a normal call to action, work with me, so they can visit my website and read more about my services, or they can start reading an ebook which we wrote also together with Ricardo and other marketers from B2B marketers and founders community, so they can start to, let's say, start building relationship with me by reading this book. So normally your LinkedIn profile should looks like this, and if they didn't reach you out, how you can start conversation? Because for sure you can't reach them out and say, hey, I saw you just visited my profile and let's have a call, I will sell you. So of course it's not like this. But we have different scenarios how we can start the conversation. For example, if somebody has sent you a connection request, I always start with a question, how did you find my profile and what are you working on right now? It's a normal conversation, and people, I won't say everybody is answering this question, but some people are telling how did they find me, which is really important because in this case you understand what really works and what doesn't work. And what are they working on now? Some people can share their challenges. I won't say you will sell from knowing this fact, but it can also help you build a better content strategy, because when you know what are their challenges, you can answer this, you can write content about this, and as well you can always use, you can always boost your content and target it, sponsor it, and target specific accounts, specific job roles from accounts you want to penetrate in, and that's how you can generate leads. Another example, like if the person just visited your profile but didn't engage with you, you can ask a question. So I saw you have visited my profile and I want to learn more about you, about my connections. The same question, how did you find me? What was your intent by visiting my profile? And as well, if you have seen that some person that belongs to your ideal customer profile has engaged with your content, for example, commented under your post or liked your post, you can manually reach out this person and say thank you and start the conversation. What did you like most about this post? Would like to hear your thoughts on it. So basically that's how you unite your inbound and outbound approach and start generate conversations. I won't say you start generate sales, because unfortunately B2B marketing is a bit different from B2C. But anyway, you can start from this point, you can start normal conversation, because everybody knows people buy from people, they don't buy from companies, and they buy from people whom they trust, whom they know, and who they like to work with. So basically it was my part. And right now I will give a mic to Ricardo, and he will share with you the exact structure we use when we implemented LinkedIn inbound marketing to our clients.
All right, thank you. Just want a quick note, I'm going to show you a little trick. Can everybody open his phone? Can everybody take his phone out? Does everybody have the LinkedIn app on his phone? Yeah. I'm going to share you a little trick. Just go to LinkedIn and search for my name. It's very hard to pronounce, I know, but I'm going to spell it for you, Ricardo, which is pretty easy, I guess, for Valencia people. And then I'll pronounce you the last name. Gekire with a G and an H. So Ricardo, and then
I will.
you know, oh, you
I will
can-
try to find this. I will try to find the slide.
the slide. Oh, there we go. Oh, there you go. See, it's not easy for me, I know. There you go. And now you can connect with me. I'll share you a little trick. Yes, on LinkedIn. All right. Has everybody connected? Yes.
Only we can follow you.
Oh, well, you can follow me.
Yes,
Yeah, let's follow them.
That was his goal.
That was my goal, right? To make people follow.
Here's was the
Follow.
trick.
So the trick is, tomorrow I'll be sending you a quote how much my services are to pay. Basically, that's my little trick tomorrow. And that's actually how most people treat LinkedIn. They'll connect. Now you connected, thank you very much. And then tomorrow they'll send you, hey, are you interested in my services? But that's actually, if you see from what Andre says or what I'm trying to say, is that that's not the way to go. You want to build trust, like factor, with your prospects before you can actually sell them something. If I reach out tomorrow and you don't know me, like, why would you even buy from me? And that's where I want to take you back to. Like, I'm not going to talk about the tricks. I'm not going to talk about the hacks. You can read that in the book afterwards. So there's tons of hacks there and LinkedIn automations, all fun and stuff. But I'm going to take you back to the strategy-wise, to what needs to happen before you can actually start with LinkedIn content marketing. Because if you start out just like us, it will take you a year before you're actually getting there. We want to lower that amount so you can actually get there in 1 or 2 months to really understand what's the processed way. So first, we talked about market segmentation, why it's important about market segmentation, that you cannot target everybody. You want the people with the 14 shoes, thank you very much. And you want to have the people that, ideally want to buy from you, basically. But after that, what happens, basically? So before you can actually start, I call these the pre-campaign. So what needs to start? First is, the biggest problem I see with companies is they're trying to make everybody influential. They're saying, okay, everybody in my company needs to be posting. And that's the biggest mistake, because, if sociologically, wow, that was a difficult word, it's proven that we want to follow people. We always say that as humans, we're sheeps. We want to follow people that have gone before us. So basically, the first thing you want to do is make one person within the company super influential, super powerful, and then the rest will follow, because they will say, oh, if it works for him, it works for me as well. But if you try with everybody, you will fail from day one. So the first thing is you want to pick people, the first influential person within your company. That's the first step. Second, we talked about treating your page as a landing page. So it's not about I'm the founder of this, it's how are you going to help me? Remember, we have the degree of fishes. We remember stuff less, well now a little bit more than fishes. We want to know, if I'm visiting your profile, like how can you solve my problem, and we saw the structure already, like how to build that up. CTAs, what's my unique selling proposition, all that kind of stuff. Now it's where it gets interesting. Does anybody know the social selling index on LinkedIn? All right, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, lovely. So social selling index is basically what we call psychological marketing within marketing companies. It's LinkedIn builds something so people can actually measure how good they're performing on LinkedIn, how good your content is, how much you're engaging, how good you are in making connections. And of course, if you have the premium account, your score goes up a little bit, which is normally because they want to sell you the LinkedIn premium, of course. But if you type in social selling index, you will get straight to your account, and LinkedIn will measure how good you are social selling on LinkedIn. So this is like the first thing we do. We put your account through the social selling so we know what's the baseline and where can we work from. And so every single month we print it out as an A4 and then we just put it on the wall, and then you can track your measurements. It's one of the things you can track, but it's not the only thing you can measure. But that's the first thing we do. That's putting the baseline. Next slide, please. All right. Andre took a... Yes? Talked about the topic clusters, and that's what I want to aim for as well, because that's the first thing you'll decide on how to create content. If you think about content marketing, there is two things on LinkedIn that we want to do. First is what we call the hero's journey. It's about who are you as a person, what makes you successful, and how are you going through that journey, basically. Because everybody thinks of heroes as, you know, the Spider-Mans of this world, but actually, if you look at it, the most successful heroes are the people that are just normal people, just you going through the journey, figuring out how the world works, figuring out how the business works, figuring out what you're doing in your daily life and what has improved your life to get there, basically. So that's the first thing. Now, everybody thinks, if you look at LinkedIn stories, everybody thinks like, oh, okay, so how do I start writing this? Actually, there's templates for this. It's very easy, because if you look at storytelling, if you look at pictures, if you look at movies, they all use the same thing. It starts with, okay, a Spider-Man, he gets a challenge. He wants to, you know, kill, I forgot his name. Does anybody know the enemy of Spider-Man? I forgot. The guy who needs to kill. So that's the challenge, right? But there is a problem, right? Because, you know, he doesn't have the mask, or he doesn't have this superpower, so how does he beat it? Then he gets some help from some people. He learns how to beat the guy, and then he shares the results. And that's basically the template for your hero's journey. You start with the challenge, the problem, the help, learning, and the result. And if you look through your LinkedIn stories, put this template next to it, and you'll understand that, oh, actually it's pretty easy to write this, because if you have the structure, you know how to write it, and everybody in your team knows how to write this. Then the second thing, we have the hero's journey, and now we're getting to the second part. Andre, there we go. We go to the second part, which is the expertise framework. So one is, who are you as a person? What do you like? Do you like bananas? Do you not like bananas? But the second part is, okay, now I know you like bananas, or Spider-Man movies, I guess. The second thing is, why would I buy from you? Like, why are you the man that I should be paying you money for? And that's where you want to bring in your expertise. Now, sharing your expertise is not about, hey, we have these clients and they bought this and they're amazing and I'm amazing, so you should buy from me. You're actually trying to blend in your story together with your expertise. This is, for example, and actually the best way to create content on LinkedIn is actually just to go to Facebook groups, Reddit groups, anything related where your target audience is, and they'll be asking questions every single day. Facebook groups are amazing right now. They've been tricking the algorithm. The algorithm is going towards Facebook groups now. If you scroll to your feed, you'll see update Facebook group. And they're amazing if you're trying to figure out questions that your target audience has. And this is one of the questions. What are some great marketing courses or blogs? It's a question I answered in about 5 minutes, because, yeah, I mean, I should know where these things happen. And all I had to do is refurbish it in the template, and then put it on LinkedIn. So it took me 15 minutes to create this blog, just to create this post and get it outside the world. So it's not difficult once you have the templates and you know which questions your target audience has. Next. Now, we decided on the person, we optimized the LinkedIn profile, we set the standard, we have the topic clusters. Now the fifth step is, if you want to scale your plan, it's not only that you should be writing it. Anybody should be writing this. So the talk on content, it's pretty easy. You just write the content and it's out there. But if you're writing for personal people, if you're sharing a story, you want it to be you. You don't want to be like, hey, this doesn't sound like me. I don't think people will know me like this. So the sixth step is really testing and reviewing. You make the interview, you created the post, but you share with the influential people, because he will say or she will say, this doesn't sound like me. So you go a lot of back and forth and saying, okay, this is good, this is not good. We'll adapt to our strategy and adapt to my lifestyle, not your lifestyle. And this is how you go back and forth to understand who is the person and how does he want to be like famous for, and how do you want to get that outside the world. Now, has anybody heard of LinkedIn Pulse? Yeah. Of course, you do. And the last step is team alignment, and I'll walk you through. Is really understanding how the algorithm works. Of course, like the gentleman said, it keeps changing, But for now, the best thing, for example, to post and to get more reach and to get more likes and whatever you want to have, is actually just plain text. No pictures, no videos, no nothing. It's just playing with plain text. Second best thing you can do is with videos, and then it goes to pictures. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't post pictures. A question I got from a big recruiting agency last week is, okay, we have this template for like our recruiters, and we're going to share it on lessons. Okay, can I see it? Okay, and they shared like a picture and an outbound link to their website, and they're asking me, why am I not reaching people? I say, well, first of all, people don't like pictures, like they like pictures, but if it's just like a, you know, these templates where you get on like Canva or like InDesign, you get these templates and you share them, people don't really like connect with you. They connect with the story because it's me, but if it's a template, nobody really cares. And second, as any platform, on Facebook, Instagram, any platform, we don't like outbound links. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of them, Google, they want to keep you on the platform. They don't want you to go outside the platform. So if you're posting outbound links, it's not going to work out for you. So why am I telling this? Because it's important that your team understands why you're doing certain things, why you're not posting pictures, why you're not posting videos, why you're actually just writing plain text. Because it makes sense to first align your team around how does the platform works, what can we do, what are the possibilities, and what's the structured way we're going to be posting. Now, that's the pre-campaign. We've done all the research, we know the market segmentation, ICP, we know what to do first. Now we're getting into the inbound part. So we talked about engagement bots. That's where you create your engagement bot within your company or with like-minded people that, you know, for example, for me, that would be with other marketing agencies that would create like Facebook advertising, and I'm doing LinkedIn advertising, so that makes a match because we have the same audiences, but we're not selling the same services, for example. So that's where you create your engagement bots, which is, in the book there's a lot more, but is between 5 to 7 people. Within a big company, for example, that could be up to 25 people. That depends. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is also, most people think about inbounds is just about writing posts on their own profile, just you putting out things, you sharing stuff, all that stuff. But actually the best thing, and I'll scroll a little bit down, is just to provide valuable answers to people that have questions on LinkedIn. And the new algorithm just loves it. The old way. We're just talking to people and say, hey, I think this is going to be a solution. The best thing is that this answer you can just repurpose as a comment on your own, as a post on your own. So basically you're just helping out people. People in your network see that you're helping out people, so you're building that trust-like factor. But eventually that post you can actually use to also create posts on your own profile. So you have the social validation, but you're also helping out people, plus you have a post. And that's all within 10 minutes of work. A little bit down. And of course, you launch posts on inbound, on your LinkedIn profile. That's the inbound part. Next, once you start posting, you start engaging with people, people see your content, people think that, okay, well, I'm posting now, so they will reach out to me. They will like land on my profile, they will reach out to me and say, hey, I love what you're doing. We've had that before, but actually the most successful relationships we build to actually close is not by just posting, is with engaging with the relevant people. LinkedIn is not about building out an audience with everybody, but with the right people. And that's where you want to aim for. You want to engage with the right people. And that's why market segmentation, ICP profiling is such an important thing, because you want to know if they visit my profile, you don't want to reach out to everybody. You want to reach out to the right people that you want to build relationships with. Otherwise, you're just wasting people's time and your own time. Just a second, a little back. All right. So one is, once they engage with your post and they fit inside your ICP, you reach out and say, hey, thank you, like we saw with Andre, thank you for commenting on my post, love what you guys are doing, you do a little bit of research, what they do, just have a casual conversation. Second is visit your LinkedIn profile, and not everybody who visits your LinkedIn profile is useful. Just segment out who you want to be building a relationship with and reach out to them. But the third thing is like, when you're posting on LinkedIn, you get some information, not a lot, not like Facebook, but you get some information. If you scroll down, what we develop for our own and also for our clients is actually a template where we track every single thing that is relevant for us. And one of those useful things is that LinkedIn shows you the top 10 companies that is actually viewing your posts. The interesting part is once you have all that data, so these are different posts, and you also see the top 10 companies that they're watching. And once you have all that data, you can actually see, okay, well, Voxel Group, well, they've been seeing my posts. Voxel Group is interesting, they fit into our market segmentation, ICP profiling, they must be really interesting. So let's not reach out to them yet, but we can retarget them all with LinkedIn ads. So instead of just massing broad on LinkedIn ads, you can just target narrowly to people that maybe engaged, maybe they didn't, but they at least saw your face passing by. And that's where you have to track, like, unfortunately in the SEO world, we've existed a long time. We have SEMrush, we have all these tools to track all these, love these stats for us. LinkedIn does not have that for us. Who's in this room and wants to build this, please, let's talk. If you have a bunch of engineers, I know precisely what to build. But this still doesn't exist. So for now, we track it in Airtable, which is a little bit like Google Sheets, but more like a little bit advanced for like building databases. And where we track every single thing, where we keep the templates of people writing posts, but also what's happening with our posts. So we can retarget our ICP. And the last one, does anybody retarget their website visitors that were unknown? Wait, I'll rephrase that question. I'm gonna show you one slide, and it's a use case I wrote, I think, the 8th of November, which is about like 6 days ago. It's a use case where unknown profile that didn't engage with our profile, so they went to a website, but they didn't fill in a form, they didn't leave their email address, they didn't leave anything. But with certain softwares like Leadfeeder and Albatross, you can identify those people. So you can identify, and you get a Slack notification, like on the left side. Looks like we have a lurker. Lurker, recall, there's people that just watch, they don't actually engage. We have a lurker, which is the name, and he's from Belgium. I'm from Belgium, awesome. And they fit into my ideal customer profile of employees, having about 75 employees. So I get a Slack notification, and from that Slack notification, some really interesting things happen. Basically, I can show you the blog post what happened, but in short notes, we get a notification. We went to the LinkedIn of the marketing manager, sent him a request, didn't accept one. They didn't accept the request. Suddenly I get another Slack notification saying, hey, this person, which I reached out to, downloaded an ebook. I said, great. 2 steps later, they joined our Facebook group, and their question when you join our Facebook group is like, what's your biggest challenge? He says, well, my biggest challenge is setting up a new corporate headquarters for a 1.8 billion company. I'm like, that's interesting. And then he says, we need some help with it. It's like, super interesting. So basically, we went from a lurker that didn't engage with us, didn't do anything, to eventually he accepted me on LinkedIn, of course, to actually knowing a lot about the person without actually knowing what he was doing. So now we have an interesting conversation to talk about because we know he visited the website, we know exactly which site he was looking at, we also know what his biggest challenge was, and we also know what he's interested at. And of course, he's in 2 flows. One is our marketing automation flow of emails, but also on our LinkedIn, because we share relevant content towards him, so we can nurture him along the cycle. Remember the first slides, the 3% rule, 3% will actually buy from you right now, but the rest you need to nurture along the way. So now we are finished with the engage part. This is how you engage with people that are going through your posts. Now for the outbound part. How much time do I have left?
30 minutes. 20.
20 minutes. Okay, I'll run through it a little bit. The outbound part starts with 4 audiences. So it's not only useful to actually connect with your ICP, so your ideal customer profile, but we've identified 4 people that you need to be connecting with. And I'll explain to you the bigger scheme behind it. Can you? One more? All right, there we go. These are the 4 people you actually want to be connecting with. The first people is what we call engagers. These are people that will actually never buy from you. Like, they will never buy from you. For me, that's, for example, marketing people that are just juniors starting out their B2B marketing career, no idea what's happening. They will never buy from you, basically, because they're too junior to sell to. But these are the people that are really actively on LinkedIn searching for content that are inside the B2B space. So you want to have those in your audience because these are the people that will engage with your content, so you will have more reach to reach your ideal customer profile. So this is what we call the engagers. I have a whole story about this, but I will keep it short. These are the first people you want to be connecting with. So people that are just below that will never buy from you, but are very active on LinkedIn, so they will engage with your posts to share more of your views to other people. Second, very obvious, you want to connect with your ICPs, the people that are relevant to your industry. Now there is a side note to that. So we had clients, and they asked me like, okay, our target audiences is XYZ. I'm going to go into details. It's like, but why are we not converting them? So after a whole session, we discovered that first, their ICP is actually not that person. It's a whole different, it's a CFO. It's like, okay, let's run ads to the CFOs. Those didn't convert as well. Now, the question is like, why do they not convert? So when we did the ICP profiling, we understood that these people, like CFOs, are not active at all. Like if you look at the most CFOs within companies, they don't even exist. Like the only thing they do is share a post that is from their company, and then they leave LinkedIn for like the next 5 years, basically. So this is where you need to understand, okay, ICP could be a CFO, but is LinkedIn the right strategy for you first? But also, if the CFO is our ideal customer profile, but he's not on the platform, who do we need to engage with to actually build a relationship so he can introduce us to the CFO, which could be the CEO or procurement manager that is just below him. So that's what you have to think about as well when you're creating your ICP on LinkedIn. Are they active on the platform? Third is Victoria, I would call her, is the event organizers. Because basically, if you're posting and you're becoming to be relevant, you get to be invited. Thank you for this, by the way. And you want to have event organizers within your platform or within your audience so they can see, okay, if I'm going to host an event about B2B marketing, who do I think about? Who should I be inviting? Thank you for the invite, by the way. So these are like the third people audiences that you want to have so you can track how many events do you get invited to speak at so you can convert later on. Fourth is what we call the co-pilots. This is like a weird name you gave it, but co-pilots for us, in my case, that's marketing agencies that give another, like they're selling design, for example, or they're building websites, something we don't do at all. But the interesting part is once they build the website and they build the Facebook audiences and they build all that stuff and they think about, and they get a question from their customer saying, well, we want to try LinkedIn. Do you know anybody or can you do this for us? And they'll say, well, not really, but I know this guy that I've been following a lot about LinkedIn. Maybe we should reach out to them. And that has been a really great way to actually acquire new users. It's just through we call it partnerships, we call it co-pilots, because you want to have them in their audience because when they get a question from somebody, they want to have an expert really talking about the subject. So that you get invited into the journey. Think about like my little container selling, where the guy reaches out and say, well, we could introduce you to somebody and you get into the sales funnel straight away. So these are the four people, well, yeah, those were the four people that you want to have inside your audiences. Next. Yeah, so outbound, of course, you have a chat with an ICP. I always say the most sales do not happen when you're posting, they're actually happening when you're chatting with people. And I don't mean sales chat, I just mean how is your day? How are you doing? How has it been last month? Like, is everything working out for you? That's what I call building relationships on LinkedIn. The third is what we call the helpful offer. A little bit down. So, first is like, hey Amy, saw your raffle. She was doing a raffle. Would you mind if I share a tip how to make it a little easier for people to discover your raffle on LinkedIn. So she was posting, but the link was in the first comment. So she discovered, okay, I have to put the link in the first comment because LinkedIn doesn't love outbound links. But we discovered a little trick, how to actually still have that link inside your post, but not have an outbound link. So basically, you just go to, well, I don't want to be able to show it here, but you put it in the first comment, and you link your inside the post, you link back to the comment. Okay, I'm just going to read the book, it's going to be easier. But that's what I call the helpful offer. So you don't sell anything, you just see if they have a problem, they just post about the problem, you're just trying to be helpful to that person. So you don't sell them something today, but maybe in 3 months, you can actually, after they see your content, maybe they download an ebook, you can actually sell them because you were helpful at that day. Next. So now you've been very helpful, they saw your content, you're doing amazing, you're talking to the prospect, and suddenly they reach out and say, hey, I'm quite interested in what you do, can you just talk to me? And for some organizations, they will say, okay, well, we have this influential person, but I don't want to be doing all the sales. I don't have time for that, I need to be building more relationships. So this is where we call the show interest phase, where they showed interest, so you qualify them, and of course it needs to be an ICP. If it's just like a guy you cannot help, you shouldn't be talking to him, or maybe like just saying, hello, thank you, bye. But you wanna, if they show interest, you wanna transfer that to an SDR. But how do you do that? Does everybody know what an SDR is? Raise your hands if you don't know what an SDR is. All right, a sales development representative, so basically a sales guy. You go from marketing to sales guy, basically. So you want to switch that conversation to saying, hey, this sales guy can actually help you out. This is what we call the handover. So we try different stuff of saying, how this is the email of the SDR, just mail him and he'll get back to you, or stuff like that. Didn't really work out. So what we do now is what we call the handover, where we open up a chat with a guy on LinkedIn, so the people that were showing interest, and we get the SDR, or the person, the sales guy, inside the chat. So you open a chat with 3 people. The person who's interested, you, yourself, and of course the SDR, introducing him, saying, this is the guy who will help you get XYZ, or explain more about your company. It's what we call the handover. So in the software, you're switching from marketing towards sales. Is that clear for everybody? All right, awesome. Now, the conversion part, how do you convert people on LinkedIn? How does a campaign look like on inbound? So I want to talk to you about taking you a little bit behind the screens of our ebook launch, for example. So we launched our ebook, and of course, we know that the algorithm, they love people that are commenting on stuff. So we get more engagement, we get more reach, we get more people to comment. So that was the trick. Right? Comment hero to receive our entire ebook, 426 people, just comment hero, and we have the engagement going on basically. But how does that convert you into clients? Like, what do you do to convert them? Because now you have all these people, should you reach out to all of them? Should you just send a message saying, hey, thank you for downloading the ebook? Now, behind the scenes, there's a couple of things you need to do. So what we do, we scrape, or we get all the data from the commenters, we get them all inside a Google Sheet. And that's where we extract and get more information about them. What company they work for, how big the company is, and this is where your ICP gets really important, because you really want to know who you can help, who you not can help, and you rank them on 4 factors. First is current customers, that's number 1. You don't want to say to your current customers saying, hey, download the ebook. You want to build that relationship a little bit more. So depending on the phase, so you have current customers, high potentials, good potentials, no potential at all, you want to send out different messages to all of these 4 people. So we rank them on 4 things. First, current customers gets a different message. High potentials and good potentials, they don't get an automated mail, but they just get a really good LinkedIn message, where we actually show that we've read about their story basically, or we read about their company, because there's high potentials for us. The rest, the no potential ones, the people you cannot sell to because of your ICP, they just get an automated message saying, thank you for downloading the ebook, or here's the link to the ebook basically. So this is where behind the scenes what's working for us is if you do these type of campaigns, and we didn't pay anything, like €0, just time, of course. This is how it looks like behind the scenes. Well, of course, the interviews. Second is where I invite you to an interview, saying, hey, would you be interested in talking about this topic? And we build a relationship like that in the DM. Third is the meetups, like this, of course, where you invite people, local people that you want to convert maybe in 6 months, where you get them into a meetup and just chat about around pizza. Fourth, here's some offers. For example, a discount code, something like that, where you just offer a little discount code about your product, or maybe something they would be eager to talk about, or an ebook, of course. And 5, speaking events, where you invite them over to speak and maybe sell me in a few months. Yes, she's nodding, yes, I'm gonna buy it. So these are a little bit the whole strategy. I'll also send you the slides so you have the overview. I hope, I'm just gonna do raise of hands who thought it was valuable. All right, awesome. That's nice. So these are the next steps if you want. And you can download the ebook where we explain you the more hacky stuff and also the more structured one. And also join the Facebook community where we're actually going to, there you go, it says yes, where we actually share these tips with you on a daily basis. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now.
A question about languages. Most people here, I think, speak several languages and would probably be happy to sell to both at least English and Spanish-speaking clients. But if I write posts in English, not all Spanish people in my network are gonna be, well, are gonna be able to read that basically, and I'm not gonna sell to them if I post in English. What do you do with that? Do you post in several languages? Do you ignore certain groups?
So, good question, I would say. First, it depends on your ICP, but second of all, you make several people influential. So one would be a Spanish influential, focusing on the Spanish market, and the other person could be the CMO or like some hype people that just post in English because you want to reach a different market segments. So it depends on your ICP and also depends on who you're going to make influential. But I would go for 2 people being influential, not post Spanish and English because you're going to confuse people. So I would say one person goes for English market, have these 4 people, these 4 audiences in your market or in your audience, and then post in English and do the same for Spanish.
But if you're alone?
If you're alone, it's a good question. Who do you sell most to, Spanish or English people?
Now English, and therefore my feed is in English, everything I do is in English, but I am in Spain now, so if I want to target the Spanish market, I need to make that switch somehow.
Who pays the bills better, I would say?
I will also answer this question. I'll answer this question.
Yeah.
Right one.
Yeah, who pays the bills better, I would say.
But you would make a choice?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where market segmentation and ICP profiling comes in. You want to go for the most lucrative, not for the ones that you could, but they're actually going to have more headaches from you than the English market, for example.
Facebook is better in this case. You can post in English and in Spanish, and Spanish people will see in Spanish, and English speaking in English.
Yeah.
I will just add my 2 cents. So actually, if you have an established brand on a specific market, for example, in Spain, you are, I won't say you are the influencer, but you are well known in your industry. You can actually do what I did 1 year ago. So I live in Poland. I also working on Polish market, and I have another company called Advice, which is working with Russian-speaking market. So what I have done, I opened a new company called Get Leader. As well, I hired a CEO for that advice company who is working under my brand, under establishing brand. We also have a content writer. So it just, of course, up to your budget, but if you have this, normally we are working on, like we have a process when content marketer interview me 1 time per week. So she has a lot of content to write in, and she like normally posts from my profile or from my CEO. And as well, at the same time, I'm entirely focusing on English-speaking markets. So this is a kind of solution for you. You're welcome. Just
Just a question about, so what you've been talking about tonight is primarily organic, right? So do you do paid LinkedIn ads at all?
Yep.
Do you mean, do we pay for LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, because LinkedIn ads are quite, they're quite pricey, they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I've only got a small thing, so I teach business English.
Also a great question. It just, like at the early beginning of the presentation, we mentioned which company are qualified to LinkedIn inbound marketing and which are disqualified. So if you can, for example, if you can afford a big acquisition cost for, like a high acquisition cost for customers, you can run LinkedIn ads, because with the help of LinkedIn, you can target specific accounts. For example, you are targeting, let's pretend you are targeting B2B SaaS companies, or let's say B2B SaaS enterprise companies, and you want to sell a specific solution, for example, IT outsourcing or IT development, web development. So you can narrow your ad to a specific company and run a specific, for example, you actually have written a guide and posted it on LinkedIn, for example, how to, let's say, improve your development process, or how to make, or how to quickly develop new features, just a very raw idea. And you can target a specific account and specific people from this company with LinkedIn and say, like, for example, Ricardo, or let's pretend, let's name a company, get lead along how to improve your development process. And this is great for, first of all, for brand awareness, and also what you can do, what we already mentioned. So if you'll see specific people from the specific job roles were engaged with your content, you can reach them out and start the normal conversation. So I have seen you read my guide about...
does it necessarily need to be paid advertising?
In case, you can't control organic traffic, unfortunately. So it's you'll never be able to control organic traffic. So that's why if you want to penetrate into a specific account, that's what it's just another. It's a bit another strategy called account based. Your business can generate lots of revenue for your company. You should pay for this, of course, because in this case you will be targeting specific people from that company.
Just comment. Oh, sir.
You are always talking about an inbound approach of LinkedIn, trying to write content that is interesting for your buyer persona, trying to attract them first step. But a lot of people use LinkedIn in another way, using the search engine to trying to look for your target and trying to begin the conversation, not waiting to attract first and have a connection after they know you. What do you think about this approach?
So basically the sales approach, where you send out a message saying, hey, buy from me, or?
Yeah, trying to look for your ideal buyer.
Okay. Well, you'll get a message from me tomorrow saying, hey, buy from me, and I'll see how you respond. I think that says enough. Okay, would you buy from me tomorrow? If I say, you want to buy LinkedIn inbound?
First of all, please share Belgium rates for marketing.
There you go.
Yeah, well, really it's difficult to try to sell without a trust before, no? But a lot of telephone companies are talking to you, and if they find just the moment where you have this need, maybe that match and it's possible to buy. Or on the other hand, maybe you can arrive to people not selling trying to begin the conversation in another way. You can have some things to help them, for example.
Thing is, in the chat, people use the chat, and sometimes maybe I'll ask the question in the room, who has had a conversation and then suddenly the prospect went broke, they didn't answer anymore? Does anybody have that before? Like suddenly the conversation stopped and like, well, there we go. I can open my profile right now. I had tons of these conversations where somebody that went broke, which I met in Prague last year, and then the 12th of November, I still know the day because it's 2 days ago, they suddenly reached out again. So that's where you combine the power of both. You connect with them, you have a chat, they went broke. They saw my content, for example, from the post yesterday, and now I reached out back again. So it's a great way to get them inside that chatting moment again, or saying, hey, thank you for connecting again. So I think the outbound still works. It works for tons of companies where you just have people calling on phones and sending out cold emails. It works, I really understand that. And sometimes they start with that, but then when you're looking to invest in a scalable channel, in a long-term channel, that's where LinkedIn inbound comes to. But sometimes, yes, indeed, you need to start calling people so you can actually answer the ICP questions, you can answer, get people on the phone and really understand why people are not buying from you, so you can create better content later on. And actually, to answer your LinkedIn ads, we've worked with tons of companies where they reached out to us and say, well, we don't want to do the LinkedIn bound, but we want to do the paid advertising. I say, well, I wouldn't recommend paid advertising, but let's start. And down the road, they notice that the results are not great, and then they move into inbound marketing and say, okay, this is working, why is that not working? So most CMOs or more content marketers or marketing managers think in terms of how much do I pay and how much do I get out? What's the ROI on paying on LinkedIn ads and getting the return on investments? And they later on realize that LinkedIn ads are not a way to go broad, like on Facebook, you go broad and then you segment down and then you find out the right audiences. That's not the way to go. You turn it around. You go for 300 profiles you want to penetrate and then go in a systematic way.
I just
Maybe
also,
you want to add something to that.
I just also would like to add my 2 cents about this. How do you think it's just the question for the whole audience? If you are, let's pretend you are marketers and you have a sales team who is in charge of cold outreach and cold calling. If you ask a salesperson, a sales guy, what he would like the help with and what he would like most from your marketing campaigns, how do you think what the sales guy will respond to you? Please raise a hand and share your thoughts.
Information.
Okay, any other thoughts?
Warm leads.
Warm leads. Yeah, so if you ask any salespeople, they will tell you, I would like to reach out to people who already know our company, our positioning, our USP, and what we are doing and what makes us different from the competitors. That's why you can always start from normal. I don't, to be honest, as a marketer, I dislike the term brand awareness, but anyway, you should start from the brand awareness and then combine it with cold strategies like cold outreach and cold calling, and the efficiency of this will be always much more higher than you manually send lots of messages automated with the help of Dark Soup, don't know, Meet Leonard or any other tool, and you'll see the ROI will be always higher. I suggest you, first of all, you to check the entire process from the marketing side, not only the content you'll read from the book, but also just try to see what we are doing with this, let's say, inbound lead generation. How do we qualify leads? Because, I will give you quick ideas. For example, if you don't fit our ideal customer profile, you simply get an email, thank you for being interested in our book, here's a download link, and you'll be deleted from our database. If you fit our ideal customer profile, you'll be actually involved into a huge lead nurturing sequence. We'll which will demonstrate you specific benefits of our solution. Not only this one, if you want to engage, for example, if you want to reach us out and you like, guys, we want to talk with you about implementing your solution, we can send you like another ideas. For example, we can send you content about account-based marketing, and if you'll engage, for example, you'll be subscribed to another lead nurturing sequence, and so on and so on. So everything is about qualification and disqualification, and this is normally happens to market. As for the like you mentioned, Spanish market is different. The same we have Polish market is different from Spanish and from United States. At the same time, it's entirely different from Russian-speaking markets. So it's everything is up to your segmentation, like I mentioned in the early beginning, and ideal customer profile. You should always focus on LinkedIn, on the most fruitful market segment, and narrow your content strategy up to your ideal customer profile. This is only one solution I can say.